So, a bit of a side note, Impact drew like less viewers as the previous week. Over from, actually they improved over their last taping being March 31st, their last and final episode for Tuesday nights. We don't have the current rating for it yet. Over from April 6th is now April 8th, so we won't hear much. So they got up over 30 something thousand, over hitting peaking lows. Oh, and by the way, before we even start, of course, we have Dynamite! Dynamite! Ooh, just a gift that keeps on getting disappointing. So the major drawing tonight was obviously a six-man tag involving the Young Bucks counter mission against Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. That was it. Other than whatever in the hell was happening on Dynamite the other night, we opened like Mike Tyson was. This was barely advertised, and I watch NBA games. You'd think a boxing icon like Mike Tyson still a minimal draw, still a minimal draw for his infamy, his intensity, and just him being a bona fide badass. He would be highly advertised, and he's barely. That's upsetting, let alone around itself. We open with Hangman and Page against. Oh God, we had JD Drake versus. We had JD Drake versus Darby Allin on Dynamite. Dude, they're trying as hard as they can to be disappointing. The Bunny faced off against Ty Conti. We had a six-man tag for our main event. We even had freaking. We even had the Lucha Brothers coming over to get interviewed by Tony Schiavone after the opener involving Hangman Adam Page. And they tried to rekindle over a ridiculous mid-card feud to give the best friends something to do. Like, the best friends are back and they got an alien now. How are they fan favorites? One is built like he reviews gaming chairs. At least I could say that at least Trent looks like he wants to be in shape. And Orange Cassidy just doesn't fit in the group because he's not that verbal and he has no semblance of that much of a promo style. Other than one time he said weenies. That's not that good that you want to push over to your audience, to be honest. So Adam Page faced off against Max Caster. He got some good bars in there involving Joe Biden slipping, but I thought it was a really forgettable match. Like, truly forgettable. Barely anything other than discus clotheslines up from the outside, big boots. It felt like there was barely chemistry around, any semblance to even watch the opener. They'll be like, oh, this friend one on rankings, it's pointless. So technically Adam Page is number one, but that really doesn't mean anything. Because even if he's number one, he doesn't have a choice to choose the TNT or world title to choose over. So the continuity of the rankings mean nothing. And even Britt Baker early over a promo trying to get herself over and be like, it should be women with star power, drawing ability, and of course the highest merch sales. And that's obviously me trying to hype herself over. And I don't even know technically what she's drawing about. Even trying to feud over now. I don't know if it's Thunder Rosa or trying to target now the women's title. Then we had, of course, Tony Giovanni interviewing the Death Triangle. Of course, next week they'll be getting their title shot against the Young Bucks for the World Tag Team titles. And it's kind of been underwhelming because the Young Bucks really hasn't done anything to elevate the titles. No new match stipulations. The matches just look the same with no semblance of storytelling. And then Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends come with Chris Statlander that just looks ugly with stupid gear and a gimmick that makes zero sense. She has no technical gimmick. Her character is nothing, and she's just an alien to just make herself different. It doesn't tell her apart from anybody else. Oh, you know what else makes this perfect? You know what makes this absolutely perfect? Dynamite had the lowest ratings. Just positively terrible. They had their lowest ratings they haven't hit in possibly in a few months, man. 688. 688,000 people watch this garbage. They haven't hit lows like this since January 6th. Like, come on, man. I know there's like a one-sided little stupid branding like show, and you're barely even mopping it out. Like we know that Dynamite wins most of these rating wars anyway, like 63-10. This is not even that much of a cool thing. You're not even hitting over a demo reel if you're not even popping at least over 900,000 or at least a 1.2. Like have a standard, bro. So it looks like they're gonna do a potential grudge match involving Orange Cassidy and Pac. Like back at Revolution, they even had a Titantron tape to go over how they were, fingering each other outside the ring. I mean, it was an entertaining match, but really, this is like to rekindle something because they're done with their Miro storyline. They got nothing else to counter over all this because we know the Best Friends are terrible. Then we have Chris Jericho responding over to MJF, going over like, "Oh, you're ripping me off." Like it's the same promos as they were when Jericho was still heel, and going over that when I was 25, I was still getting wet dreams that were facing The Rock. And oh wait, what? Why are you saying that you're getting wet dreams and then saying and Chris Jericho like had an acronym for MJF, and I have no idea. And you could just say jerk off, and it was just awe-inspiring. There was a bit of pop over most of it, but it was just underwhelming. The only momentum that he had over, the only charisma that the Inner Circle have over is just that Jericho's theme song hits with the crowd. That technically was it. Later on, there would be a backstage segment improvising that the Inner Circle was locked up in the locker room. So Mike Tyson was somehow there and broke a hole through the wall in a cartoonish door. A freaking Jericho was getting jumped out of nowhere, and they were so close already for the ring entrance, just to pop over Mike Tyson coming in with the worst work punches that he hasn't hit good since 1997. Oh, it just felt so garbage. Next up, we had, of course, Bear Country. Who pays to watch this? Like you already have an official roster. Like some people are gonna ask who's in the show, and then they'd be like, well, "Who's Bear Country?" I don't know. I don't think they're even part of the full roster. So why did they put them over on television? They'll be like they have a 7-match winning streak. Nobody's going to have that much content over to watch for AEW. 3 signs of contract content on television and on YouTube with a reality show that nobody's going to watch. And then you assimilate that to people thinking that, oh, people are gonna watch King Kong and and Godzilla. That means, oh, perfect thing. Jurassic Express is over somehow, and Bear Country nobody even heard of since the Revolution Tag Team Battle Royal. So they're feuding over like a smidgen of storytelling from a Battle Royal, and they were in a tag team match together. By God. Like WWE has their own problems. At least I know that they'll still be in the long standing for years to come. AEW has half a decade max. The match was just suicide dive, suicide dive. Marco Stunt was hit over. There was an electric chair assisted into a slam. Like a lot of kicks, like too many kicks. Like I think he slapped the slide one time over in the apron, heel kick. This had no story other than the pun over Kong and Godzilla for two guys that are giving what are supposedly the top tag team in the show, like the prime reason to watch, and they're giving them a commercial break level match over a team that nobody even heard of. These rip-off fat heavy machinery national natural disaster obese weirdos coming around just giving an over 10-minute match with not that much storytelling, and it ends with Jurassic Express picking up the win. Next up we had Darby Allin against JD Drake. Now who the hell is this QT Marshall stuck with frappuccinos in his cholesterol coming around in his crap match? First, there was a segment involving QT Marshall bringing over being in the shadow of the Nightmare family, gradually calling my way over on the top, but they still call me just Cody Rhodes' friend, and then trying to hype over the Nightmare Factory, the young guys that came assaulting the Nightmare family. Like anybody cared about that? That's like if the Core tried to jump the Nexus, no one's gonna care. And then you just push over these guys that are not even official parts of the roster, and some guy named JD Drake that nobody even heard of or even win a title match to begin with, all because he's with a jobber named Cesar Bononi that's not even an official part of the roster, earns a title shot off the bat. So the ranking system means nothing. The win-loss record means nothing unless you're part of an official storyline. But here's the thing, nobody even seen these people on free television. So seeing this obese stepdad librarian coming around facing off against the TNT champion. And Sting was just over there popping and getting Ryan Nemeth and Cesar Bononi out of there like they're cheating or something. Just like he did for the Dark Order match. Jim Ross referred to JD Drake as nothing fancy. Oh, so that means he has no character. There was counters over in the suicide dive. There was a botch. Like he missed over a baseball slide dropkick that looked so rugged. They gave him a top rope Canadian destroyer. The match was lasting over 12 minutes of absolute nothing until he hit a coffin drop. Why is it taking that much? If it's against a no name, you make sure you're dominant. You win in a decent or unique fashion, and keep it pushing until you get to a top card guy. Isn't like Sting feuding with Lance Archer? He even came earlier in the Tony Schiavone interview, like segments before the match even started. And then we have freaking Jake the Snake Roberts looking like if Negan got fatter and older in 20 minutes, coming around coughing moonshine and eating cigarettes. Don't do it, son. Don't do it. I'm not your son. Don't do it, son. Get away from me. I can't. Are you my wife? That's how it feels whenever he's doing a promo now. I feel like the brain damage of DDP, yoga, PTSD is really poisoning the brain of Jake the Snake Roberts. Every week he sounds worse. He hasn't had a good promo to even hype up his own guy since, what? The first time he showed up on Dynamite? This is not a good look, AEW. Oh. And they're trying to forcefully feud over Lance Archer being crazy and trying to feud over with Sting. So you have a man with neck damage against a man with brain damage. That's technically the feud. And Darby Allin's just there overly over the sideshow. Why don't you have just Darby feud with Lance Archer and Sting's behalf? And revolve the TNT title so there can be some importance. But he's defending it in 2 weeks already. And also the tag titles are going to be next week. Jade Cargill is going to face off against Red Velvet. They also try to hype over the feud with Jade Cargill calling herself a bad bitch again, saying the S word. Like, I could see that she looks like a woman that's important. She's a bit green in the ring, but I could see that in points. At least she looks like a star. Don't know much about Brandy 2.0. They try to hype over the Nightmare Factory like they're that much of a big deal, even though they're trainees, they're youngsters. Nobody heard of these guys, and they use no character to differentiate themselves, other than they're going to have a promo involving the boxer part of the group named Anthony Ogo Gogo. Like, what? You're just missing an M right there. You get copyrighted. Okay. So we also had Ty Conti with -1. Why do they keep bringing this little shit on television? No disrespect to Brody Lee, but you're not a Hall of Famer all because you died. That sounds harsh to say, but that's the truth. Stop bringing your child up in television. You can have them on your YouTube channels for podcasts, or have them in some silly skits. Hell, let him advertise your fucking action figures for God's sakes. But never, ever have him consistently over on television, especially over on storylines, wearing stupid masks for this jobber faction that can't even stay over a gimmick. What are you the Dark Order of? But you're so happy, especially over with John Silver. That guy annoys me. Ty Conti against the Bunny. Uh, it was average. I hate to like the Bunny's cute, but it has a dumb face. I hope people understand what I mean. What I mean, the Bunny, like she looks like she looks good in a bikini, but I wouldn't stare her in the eyes without knowing that she's possibly gonna evade it and go cross-eyed for a second, or she's gonna be confused. It was like dropkick. There was like a missile dropkick over in the outside. And the most of the Dark Order wasn't getting involved, so like they're not even permanently a heel faction for long because they're friends with Hangman Adam Page. Somehow Anna Jay wasn't even there. Don't even know what she's doing, even though she's essentially part of the Dark Order. And she uses a roundhouse kick, picks up the victory. There was a small hug with her and -1. It was a match that nobody was worth seeing, even though this girl literally pinned one of the top females on the roster by Nyla Rose. The handicap was Nyla Rose is a man. I wish I can skip that. So Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers face off against Jon Moxley and the Young Bucks in the 6-man tag for the main event. So the match was kick, roll out. Like one of the brothers will go two on one, he'll super kick, counter, do a forearm, and spear somebody. There was a suicide dive involving Moxley. Like it felt so openly choreographed in certain parts of the match that you barely even know what was even the selling point of the Young Bucks and what's like the weakness until they were selling over that, they're going to do the BTE trigger, but they hold off because now they have struggles of doing it with their friend, even though they gave him a double super kick the last week. So the continuity is that they can hit their friend, but only if they push them. And then after Moxley hits Kenny with 2 paradigm shifts, literally didn't even attempt to pin him, so he puts him in the Bulldog headlock, and then they think of now super kicking Moxley. So it was a regrettable but heel turn after the consistency of evading Kenny and the Good Brothers, and then they all hug. The show was terrible. Like, borderline terrible. You have your proverbial draw being a Hall of Fame boxer, and you barely advertised for him. Your world champion now has taken majority of them. It's been several weeks, and he's now main evented. You had Darby Allin and John Silver be more main event caliber than Kenny Omega. And I got a video on his title reign in the future. The consistency over with the storylines with frickin' Sting and Lance Archer is gonna be apparent. And if you guys are not noticing now, like, guys, they pulled they drop over 600,000 viewers. What part of growing is this? What are they trying to attract other than the bare minimal over on free television where you have easy semblance of viewers on TNT. More people watch TNT than they do USA, other than when Monday Night Raw airs. What's over on USA? Oh, TNT? Oh, I can watch basketball. Primordial sports are major reasons why people even have cable television to begin with, and they can't even take advantage of that when you have a basketball Hall of Famer and a boxing Hall of Famer over on your crowd, and you grow lower ratings. You haven't hit 1 point anything since October 16th of 2019. Ugh. And they're accepting the bare minimum of that. You guys are accepting mediocrity. You only got 2 spikes over the 900K in the gap of nearly a year. Ah, I apologize if I'm losing my energy. At least the only thing better than this over Raw is that this is consumable. But I'd rather watch a shitty 3 hours of Raw than a shitty episode of Dynamite, because at least I know some of the guys on the show. This was like the antithesis of why AEW likes hurting themselves. They shouldn't have never allowed Tony Khan to ever touch wrestling. They should have never even allowed him to get these dumb group deals involving New Japan and Impact, because it's hurting their business and it's hurting themselves. That's it coming from the DST show. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm out.